This video is going to be a film study look at the Ravens' latest acquisition, defensive end slash outside linebacker Yannick Ngakoue, a veteran who, honestly, the film looks pretty good of since he left Baltimore in 2020. What I mean by that is he posted 10 sacks with the Raiders in 2021. You may recall week one, the Ravens go to Las Vegas, lose a difficult game out there. He played extremely well that night, and that's what I recalled of his play. I remember thinking, I wish we could have gotten that version of him. I think there was something to do with the angle he was allowed to play at, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. 2022 moves on to the Colts, so he certainly played with a lot of teams, but he put up 9.5 sacks with them. Last year, 2023, played with the Bears, played in 13 games before suffering an injury. Actually suffered an injury late in the game against the Lions that I'm going to show you significant film of because I had that film already. Only posted 4 sacks last year. He does play a lot of games, meaning he plays pretty much every game every season. 15 or 16 games up through 2020 when the NFL expanded the schedule in 2021. 17 games played with the Raiders, 15 with the Colts, 13 last year with the Bears. I think it's an interesting signing. I was one of the people who was glad to see him go in 2020 because I thought he played things in a less fundamental fashion, oftentimes getting upfield, chasing sacks to get after the quarterback, and at times giving up yards off tackle, particularly our visit to the New England Patriots that year. The loss, the rain game, it was very disappointing if you ask me. We lost to an inferior team, outcoached and outplayed. I thought on that night he needed to be off the field early because he was running upfield, getting kicked out. But the film from last year against the Bears and some of the film from 2022 with the Colts is what I'm going to focus on today. First of all, he's a veteran, so he's got a lot of moves out here. He's not just a speed rusher. In my opinion, I did go grab sacks or quarterback hits or some losses. This is Taylor Decker last year on the road. The Lions go to Chicago and get their butts kicked. 28-13, I believe, is what it ended up being. He's just walking Taylor Decker back into Jared Goff's face. This is a 3rd and 10 in the first quarter. The Bears are already up 7-0, so it's not like this is an uncompetitive situation late in the game where the outcome is already predetermined. Yannick Ngakoue can play. He's got outside moves, inside moves. You saw a pseudo bull rush there. This one, he's going to frame up the left tackle after a little stutter against Washington. It's in the 4th quarter. The game here is probably decided. The Bears are up 30-20 at this point. It's a 2nd and 9, like I said, about halfway through the 4th quarter. A little bit of a stutter, and then gets that inside hand into the chest of the offensive lineman. So he plays with power. I think people talk about turning speed to power or power to speed, whatever. I think he has a multitude of options as an edge rusher against the pass. Do I think it's possible that he was brought in as a situational pass rush guy to be used sparingly, 20 to 22 snaps, almost like Justin Houston his last couple of years with the Ravens? Yes, I do. Now, this is moving back to 2022 film, so you may discount it, but I think it looks generally similar to what we saw last year from 2023. It's kind of trying this little Euro step, mistimed, if you ask me. The tackle is unable to dislodge him, however. So this is a 2nd and 11. I think it's week 7, I believe, against the Vikings. I might have my week wrong there. It might be week 11. But he's in the air, airborne, and the tackle is unable to dislodge him. What I like is once he puts that right foot back in the ground, he's already planted here, he's still on the move. He's in attack mode. Hopefully that hasn't changed. Hopefully it hasn't changed from what we saw in 2020 and what he did for the Raiders in 2021. Again, 10 sacks, and then 9.5 with the Colts in 2022. If we get this version of him for 20 to 22 snaps a game, I'll take it. I don't think we need him in our base defense. I think we need him nickel personnel when we are in pass rush mode and teams are able to get going on us, particularly in the 4th quarter. He's also very savvy around the quarterback, and he redirects really well, and I intend to show you some examples of that. What I mean by redirect is there seems to be an awareness of his to be able to adapt in the middle of his rush to where the quarterback might be going. So I think he's got pretty good eyes and obviously very experienced. Been around a long time, started his career in Jacksonville. Strip sack of Jalen Hurts. Again, this is 2022 film here. One more from 2022. This is going to be a very quick inside move to go get a sack of Ryan Tannehill. Second quarter, 1st and 10, really quick and abrupt. He can be efficient at times, if you ask me, with his pass rush moves. There's really no bullshit. There's not a whole lot of setup. Everything is very abrupt, swift, quick, and it either works or it doesn't. I like that style here, to be honest with you, for the Ravens, for this reason and this reason only. If he wins, it's going to be sudden. And it's going to cause some disruption in the pocket. So far this year, in my opinion, we've had too much that is just organic four-man rushes. And I think the benefit, the real juice last year for Mike McDonald's defense was being able to rush four by having it be an unpredictable situation in terms of who was actually going to rush the quarterback. So far this year, one of the major differences I would say I notice, and this is a generalization, is that Zach Orr's got 4 defensive linemen lined up, or 2 outside linebackers, 2 D tackles, and those are the guys who are rushing every single time, or in most, pretty much most cases. I don't think, what I'm saying is I don't think we're utilizing our safe blitzes as much. Here's an example of the tackle getting a hold of him, clearly holding, but it's away from the ref, and not the type of holding that they're going to call. He clearly has a hold of his jersey and shoulder pad, and Ngakoue is able to keep working. I think he's 6'2", 6'3", 245, 250 range. He looks thicker than that to me. He looks like a legit 250, 255 guy, if you ask me. This is an upfield rush against the left tackle, a rookie, in fact, I believe, for Carolina last year. It's a 3rd and 9. We're in the third quarter. He redirects really well, orients back to the quarterback. I think he pairs up well with Nnamdi Madubuike. I do, because of the chaos that Madubuike causes with guards and tackles. And what I mean is, I think he pairs up well being next to him in some of these if we get this version of Ngakoue that's been there. Well, if you combine the last 3 seasons, 17 games played, 15 games played, 13 games played. I think that's 45 games. He's got 23.5 sacks. That's a serious number, if you ask me. No one outside of Kyle Van Noy on our roster and Justin Madubuike last year can match that kind of production. Little Euro step, swatting down. Tackle's able to get into his chest, so that move did not work. Keeps fighting, bounces off of a teammate. He plays sometimes with real reckless abandon, and I'm all for it. I like it. Inside twist here. I like the finish to this play. It's against Jordan Love and the Packers last year. Ngakoue is going to move to the inside first and then loop all the way around. And I like what he does somewhere in this area here. He's tight and bends this back to the quarterback. He's played for a lot of football teams, played under a lot of coordinators and a lot of systems. It's interesting to me that the Ravens decided to bring him in. Kyle Van Noy on a roll, 4 sacks in the last 2 weeks. Odafe Owe, I think, has 2.5. Madubuike, I think, has 1. Probably has been held out of 2 other sacks. Ngakoue looks like a situational pass rusher brought in to help boost the Ravens' pass rush in certain situations. I think they do need that. I'm comfortable saying that I like the effort, I like the output and the performance of Van Noy, Owe, Madubuike. I think Travis Jones is playing very well. Don't get me wrong. Pierce, I thought last week, had a quarterback hit on Dak Prescott. We certainly should have had a sack in the intentional grounding in the ledger of Madubuike. Having said that, I would like us to have more guys who can rotate in there, particularly late in the game. And Ngakoue looks like somebody who can get the job done. He's got 69 career sacks. So let's take a serious look at one game. This is Week 14 against the Lions. Detroit goes to Chicago. 2 weeks prior, Chicago had come to Detroit and really outplayed the Lions, I think, for 3.5 quarters. The Lions were able to get, I think, 2 touchdowns to finish the game, and then you may recall Aiden Hutchinson's strip sack of Justin Fields sealed the win. He kicks the ball into the stands. So, come from behind win for the Lions. They go to Chicago, and really the Bears' defense ate them up. Forced multiple turnovers. I think Detroit went for it on 4th down a bunch of times. This is the same play I showed you earlier. He's up underneath of Taylor Decker, walking him back into Jared Goff's grill. Ends up getting the sack, solo sack, loss of 8 yards on a 3rd and 10. Against the run, I think that he gets expanded. I think he's going to play better in a 3-point stance. And the problem there is we're generally got our edge guys in a 2-point stance. So a 3-4 outside linebacker standing up, no hand on the ground, no third point of contact. In fact, I seem to recall from 2021 him almost being in that like 3.5 stance. So not a 4-point stance, technically still a 3-point stance, but that other hand, in this case the right hand, being close to the ground such that it's almost grazing the grass if you're playing on a grass field, or if you had to practice on a field with high grass like we used to. We would call it a 3.5. So he gets expanded a little bit by some of these bigger offensive tackles, basically not able to anchor down and set that edge, set that hard joint corner such that the running back has to make a decision. Look at where his feet start inside the hash. He's getting a base block by Decker. Decker's up underneath him. Look where his feet end up when Montgomery gets to the line of scrimmage. You're talking about his feet. His outside foot started here. Probably 4 full yards of expansion, maybe 4.5 to 5. That's not indicative of every single snap. I actually liked him in a more angled alignment than what we see in some of these clips. So I liked him when he played with the Raiders, where instead of being at this angle, and maybe that's not totally accurate, but for illustration purposes, I'm going to leave that there, and instead being lined up at like this severe angle here, such that he can wrong arm any pullers. And you'll see an example of what I'm talking about here in a moment. Another play, I believe this is 2 plays after the one I just showed you. This one goes for 13 yards. Montgomery, Taylor Decker's a very good left tackle. So this is a good one for us to look at, for me to look at, to try to judge and maybe project what you're going to get. I think you need the 3 technique or someone covering up the guard to his side if you want to be effective against the run. So if he's on in our base defense, that's easy to do. We can get the 3 technique to his side because we're in our base 3-4 look. This particular look here for the Bears is a nickel set. So the nose tackle, the one, shade, whatever you want to call it, open B-gap bubble, in my opinion, is less advantageous. I would like someone to be either a 2-eye or maybe a 3 outside shade of the guard if Ngakoue is going to be run at. If a team's going to say we're going to run at him multiple times, like I think the Lions did here. Like I said, this is week 14 last year. He actually got hurt with about 8 minutes left in this game. Pretty unfortunate. I thought he was playing well generally. So this is an example of what I was talking about for how he played with the Raiders in 2021 to my memory. Now, it's an unusual formation for the Lions. They have both tackles on one side. The eligible 6th offensive lineman is off the line of scrimmage there. He is eligible. He's reported as eligible. It's a kick scheme by Jonah Jackson, who's since moved on to the Chargers. I almost said San Diego Chargers. That's how old I am. In fact, it's a down sweep, I would call it. So you're getting a kick out by Jonah Jackson on Ngakoue. And when he played with the Raiders in 2021, he would wrong arm this violently. Again, the angle was different. It wasn't, I think his body is pointed at this angle right now. His angle, his alignment was more like this. It was more a severe angle to the line of scrimmage. So pull, kick out. I think the center is pulling and wrapping. Big gain here, I think, of 7 yards from Montgomery. Just not enough compression, and it might be size, it might be explosiveness. I think angle has something to do with it. Ends up getting taken down to the ground by Jonah Jackson. Another unbalanced set. 2 tackles. And then now a tight end backside. Detroit used this multiple times. You'll actually see a 3rd iteration a little bit later. Bears have a stunt on. I do like his effort. I do like how in this game, I watched this game tonight specifically after I finished a bunch of One Play Wednesday stuff today, and I watched this one just to see how he played because I had the film already, and I was impressed with his effort, his motor, his finish. In fact, a couple plays from now, you'll see him kind of dive onto a pile. But they're slanting the defensive line to the unbalanced side, so that's why he's stepping out, which in many cases is considered a no-no to be stepping out. In this, they happen to guess wrong because the flow of the run is going away from where they slanted. They were trying to slant into the run. Montgomery has to power through, but look, this if you don't know about Jaquan Brisker, check this play out. I mean, this is a safety nickel hybrid. He can pretty much play anywhere. They've got him in the box. Watch how he takes on and gets away from Jonah Jackson. Again, struggled with injuries in his Detroit career at times, but is a very high-level offensive lineman when he's healthy and out there on the field. And Brisker is able to play through contact, beat him to the spot, and then front up Montgomery, who is a load to tackle, allows Ngakoue to come in and finish him off. Jaquan Brisker is a fantastic football player. Couple of pass rush situations. He's down here, I believe, against Sewell. My apologies. He's up to the top side against Decker again. Goff gets rid of it pretty quick. This is late second quarter. Allows Detroit to take the lead, I believe, at 13-10. Maybe it was 12-10. 13-10, excuse me. Short touchdown pass to Josh Reynolds. Not every pass rush is obviously going to be a win. This one certainly is not. Going to be off screen to our left. He's going to get chipped by St. Brown first. You probably won't see most of that. It's a 3rd and 6 in the third quarter. Early third quarter, in fact. St. Brown just motioned over there. He's going to be the guy who chips him. And runs him into Sewell, and there's really nothing going on here. It's a 3rd and 6. Incomplete pass to Jamison Williams. I do like him as a pass rusher. Is he better than Ojabo? I can't say that. Is he better than Tavius Robinson as a pass rusher? Absolutely. Is he better than Adisa Isaac? I mean, at 100% at this point in time. Last play that I'll show you, this is a 4th and 1. Early fourth quarter, the Bears have extended the lead to 25-13. 25-13 at this point. So Jack Sanborn lined up off the edge here. Ngakoue is the edge defender over here. It's an unbalanced alignment again. 3 offensive linemen, on the same side. Skipper is reported as eligible. Run concept is going to go to our right. The Bears defense is left. They're slanting the other way this time. Remember the last time they got 3 offensive linemen over there? They slanted to that side and he stepped out. Now they're going to slant to our right, their left. And you can see Ngakoue was trying to get things straight. It almost looked like he was communicating with Sweat, which is kind of unusual if that guy would be calling the D-line stunts. But watch the effort and the crazy man mentality here at the end. There's a lot of guys stacking it up, right? Ngakoue is the player who comes in and dives on the pile at the end. I hope that he's got that attitude with the Ravens, that he's got that, hey, I don't know how many more runs I've got him. He's a 29-year-old guy, and he's played a lot, 69 career sacks, so that's impressive in and of itself from a career standpoint. What's he bring to the Ravens, like right now, this week? Probably inactive, will be my guess. I mean, he's a practice squad guy. Certain amount of elevations. I don't pretend to know all of the ins and outs of some of that stuff, but from a talent standpoint, from a pass rush moves, efficiency standpoint, this guy fits with being on the field if he's in great shape, if he's capable of giving us maybe even as few as 17, 18 snaps a game in pass rush situations. You guys have to let me know what you think. I think it's interesting that we signed him here in week 4, right around the same time when we signed Kyle Van Noy last year. And the reason why I bring that up is because I remember when Kyle Van Noy was signed, a lot of the consternation, negative reactions from Ravens fans about Kyle Van Noy not recognizing how well he had played the last 5 weeks with the Chargers in 2022. This kind of reminds me of that, except Ngakoue is more of a guy with a fastball. And that's really a poor way to compare it, though, because he's a guy with a fastball, a slider, an off-speed, a curveball in terms of pass rush moves. But in terms of overall gameplay against the run, dropping in pass coverage, those are not things that I could see Yannick Ngakoue contributing to this defense in 2024. Certainly seems like somebody to be brought in to be a situational pass rusher if he's in shape. How that works out from a salary standpoint, if we elevate him too many times, I guess we got to sign him or put him on the active roster and leave someone else at risk. So appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video that I put together here, the plays I used to try to illustrate what he's best at, sacks, getting to the quarterback, pressures, and then some of the inherent weaknesses and some of the things I think the Ravens could do to get him playing at his highest level of efficiency, which is a three-point stance, more angled, severe angle alignment, such that he can take on kick-out blocks in a wrong arm fashion, as opposed to setting them inside. Because I just really didn't think that he was a guy who was big enough and strong enough and bulky enough to knock those pulling linemen back in and compress or condense that gap at all. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look, and Yannick Ngakoue, who's a Maryland guy, by the way, coming back to Baltimore for the second time at age 29, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.